Hello, this is Myra Elaine on the Buying Space channel. Last week, or actually it was just a few days ago, but according to my timeline in my YouTube channel, it'll be a whole week. So last Sunday's reading from Proverbs, well, it became skewed. I had been reading about a certain narrative in the Bible that I was going to pair with the verse. Wow, I'm in Genesis here, so this is going to take a minute. I'm reading a series on Proverbs every Sunday afternoon. And I'm in Proverbs 12 and verse 17. So I had read Proverbs 12, verse 17 out of the New Living Translation. And I was going to pair that with the narrative of Joseph being sold into slavery. Well, I opened my Bible, but it was 3 to 4 o'clock in the morning. And I picked up this Bible by mistake that I read the Sabbath reading out of. And in Proverbs 12, verse 17, it says justice and injustice. Let me read it to you. An honest witness tells the truth, a false witness tells lies. So this is just about being an honest witness and being a false witness. And the one from the Good News Bible says justice and injustice. So if you tell a lie, it causes an injustice. If you tell the truth, it causes a justice. So that no longer fit with the narrative I was going to tell about Joseph. So I scrambled and I sit here on my phone and I found a narrative that did fit it. And I ended up reading about the 5 sisters whose father died without any sons, and they were about to lose their inheritance, and their father was about to lose his lineage. So they went to Moses and said, hey, this isn't fair. And these 5 women were descended from Joseph. And I didn't know that at the time. I mean, I figured it out while I was reading the Bible passage, and I came to Joseph, and I pointed out that they were descended from Joseph. But now I'm going to go back and read, now that it's daylight out, and I'm not picking up the wrong Bible. I'm going to go ahead and read Proverbs chapter 12, verse 17 again, and go with my original plan. An honest witness tells the truth, and a false witness tells lies. So we're talking about the effects of lying. So now I'm going to go back and talk about Joseph, who was the forefather of these 5 young ladies that went to Moses and said, our father's name should not be removed. His lineage should not be removed. We should inherit. And sure enough, Moses took it to God, and those 5 young ladies inherited. And then from then on, if a man died without sons, his daughters could inherit, which was huge in that patriarchal society. So now let's go to what happens when a lie occurs. And this has to do a little bit with justice and injustice, but it's a deeper meaning in the passage. And I wouldn't have chosen it for Proverbs 12:17 if it said justice and injustice. So that's why I switched last week at the last minute without much research. But it ended up working out and ended up being connected. So Genesis 37, starting in verse 18. When Joseph's brothers saw him coming, they recognized him in the distance. It's already been established that his brothers are jealous of him at this point. As he approached, they made plans to kill him. "Here comes the dreamer," they said. "Come on, let's kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns. We can tell our father a wild animal has eaten him, and we'll see what becomes of his dreams." But when Reuben heard of their scheme, he came to Joseph's rescue. "Let's not kill him," he said. "Why should we shed any blood? Let's just throw him in this empty cistern here in the wilderness. Then he'll die without our hand on him." Reuben was secretly planning to rescue Joseph and return him to his father. So when Joseph arrived, his brothers ripped off his beautiful robe he was wearing. Then they grabbed him and threw him into the cistern. Now the cistern was empty. There was no water in it. Then just as they were sitting down to eat, they looked up and saw a caravan of camels in the distance coming towards them, as it was a group of Ishmaelites. Now Ishmael was the brother of Isaac. So these were like a tribe of cousins almost. Well, they were cousins. Traders taking a load of gum, balm, and aromatic resin from Gilead down to Egypt. Judah said unto his brothers, "What will we gain by killing our brother? We have to cover up the crime. Instead of hurting him, let's sell him to those Ishmaelite traders. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood." And his brothers agreed. So when the Ishmaelites, who were Midianite traders, came by, Joseph's brothers pulled him out of the cistern and sold him to them for 20 pieces of silver, and the traders took him to Egypt. Some time later, Reuben returned to Joseph out of the cistern. When he discovered that Joseph was missing, he tore his clothes in grief. So Reuben came back and he was gone. Then he went back to his brothers and lamented, "The boy is gone. What will I do now?" Then his brothers killed a young goat and dipped Joseph's robe in the blood. They sent the beautiful robe to their father with this message: "Look at what we found. Doesn't this robe belong to your son?" Then the father recognized it immediately. "Yes," he said, "it is my son's robe. A wild animal must have eaten him." Joseph has clearly been torn to pieces. Then Joseph tore his clothes and dressed himself in burlap. It's like sackcloth and ashes moment. He mourned deeply for his son for a long time. His family all tried to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "I will go to my grave mourning for my son," he would say, and then he would weep. Meanwhile, the Midianite traders arrived in Egypt, where they sold Joseph to Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Potiphar was captain of the palace guard. So here's a lie that caused huge amounts of grief by his father and the rest of his family. It also led to the events of Joseph becoming in charge of the grain in Egypt, and the brothers having to return, and the truth coming out. Nothing stays hidden. It comes out in the end. Justice is done. And then, after Joseph passed away and the Pharaoh changed, the new Pharaoh made all the Jews that had moved to Egypt, during the time of famine, because Joseph was there, he made them into slaves, and they were slaves for 400 years. This original deception of saying Joseph was dead and betraying their brother this way led to 400 years of enslavement. It led to the wandering in the wilderness for 40 years. It changed history. While the Edomites, the descendants of Esau, were princes in their land, the Israelis were slaves because of this very law. Be careful what you say. Be honest in your dealings, because you don't know what sorrow a lie can cause. You all have a wonderful and blessed day.